This is my 19th day of indefinite fast within the campaign Global Fast for Life in Gaza. While in Gaza people is starving and people are being killed just for going out to seek for food, water or medical care. But today I don't want to speak about news. Today I want to tell an old story, a story from the Jewish tradition, specifically from the Hasidic Judaism tradition from Lithuania. This is a story which is part of the Earth Stories collection, which is an international project that is based on my research on social sciences. This is a wisdom tale. It's a tale that has a lot to contribute to all of us, but especially to the Israeli people who is still whitewashing and justifying the horror that their armed forces are perpetrating against the people in Gaza. This story goes as follows. It is said that the wise Rabbi 𝗷𝐬𝐫𝐵 of 𝗵𝒃, an itinerant preacher, spent many years rummaging through the books of Hebrew wisdom in search of a way to cross the veil that separates us from the other world. He wanted to know what the other side was like, in order to better explain to his audiences the deepest mysteries of the spiritual life. Finally, one day, after decades of tireless searching through thick volumes and deep meditations, he managed to reach his goal. He created a sharp blade with magical properties, capable of tearing the veil that separates both worlds. And thus, Rabbi 𝗷𝐬𝐫𝐵 of 𝗵𝒃 entered the world which is beyond. He felt a strange bliss when he emerged into the middle of a sunny green meadow, covered with flowers. Before him stretched rows and rows of tables, about which people sat as if for a nuptial feast. The tables were overflowing with delicacies and the finest and most delicious drinks imaginable. The rabbi licked his lips at the thought of feasting on so much exquisiteness. He could smell the tantalizing aroma of the fine stews that the crowd would enjoy. But suddenly he realized something that surprised him greatly. The people did not look happy, as would have been the case at a wedding feast. Quite the opposite. People were sad and anxious, eager, almost desperate. And what is more, they were thin and emaciated, all skin and bones. What was happening here? As he drew closer, the rabbi realized what the problem was. Braids of angel hair held their elbows straight so that they could not bend their arms, and the only silverware they could use were excessively long silver spoons and forks. Because their elbows were immobilized, they were unable to get the food into their mouths. They were all terribly hungry, and their torture was even more cruel because of the fact of having such delicious and abundant delicacies in front of them but out of reach. The rabbi was dismayed to see so much suffering and unable to bear the contemplation of so much pain. He returned to his world to mitigate his grief and to put order to his thoughts. what he had seen must have been hell. But hell was not as had imagined it to be. The next day, after he had recovered a little from his grief, he decided to cross the veil again, but choosing to tear the air in a different direction. Surprisingly, he found himself in the same place, or so it seemed. On the wide green meadow under the sun, there were rows and rows of tables with the most succulent foods and drinks that any human could imagine. But this time people were chatting animatedly, laughing, and even singing. These people were radiating so much happiness that the rabbi felt his heart rising toward the sun. As he drew closer, he could see that these people also had their elbows tightly bound with angel hair braids, immobilizing their arms. In addition, their silver cutlery was also excessively long. Why were these people so happy when they were being subjected to the same conditions as those in hell? As he watched, a woman used her spoon to scoop out some stew and feed it to the man across from her. All up and down the tables, people were feeding each other, so that no one went hungry. Without a doubt, this must be heaven. An idea passed through his mind. With an agile movement, he pulled out the magic blade and deftly ripped the air in the same direction he had done the previous day, thereby opening a door between heaven and hell. He passed cleanly to the other side and ran to the nearest tables of hell. Grabbing a man by the arm, he said, You do not have to keep suffering. Feed your neighbor across the table and he will feed you. But the man did not want to pay attention to him, nor did the woman who he went to next, nor the next, nor the old man at the end of the table, who responded him with a grimace of displeasure. Do you tell me to feed the stupid man in front of me? Never! I'd rather go hungry than give something to someone so mean. Then Haim understood that the difference between heaven and hell was in the hearts of people. Knowing in this way the great secret that was hidden in the other side of the veil. Deeply moved, he lowered his head and returned home, thinking about the profound lesson he had learned. He did not realize that he had left the veil torn between heaven and hell. Not long after, the inhabitants of heaven noticed the crack and looked through. They were shocked to see the overwhelming torture suffered by the people in hell, and they realized that they would never feel happy again, knowing that just on the other side of the thin veil, there were so many people suffering unspeakably. At last, their deep compassion led them to cross to the other side to try to alleviate the suffering of their neighbors. The people from heaven were not well received, of course, but they thought that, with time, the inmates of hell would end up getting used to them and learn how to feed each other. Thus began the end of all the hells. Israeli people who hate Palestinians could learn from this story. A story of the wise Jewish tradition, which is a gift for humanity. They could learn from their own tradition. Because, if not, This is like if they are betraying their own ancestors. I feel that the ancestors would not be happy seeing them with this hatred and making these atrocities. But Hamas, also the followers and supporters of Hamas, could also learn from this story. However understandable can be their feelings after more than 75 years of oppression and apartheid. In the end, if we want peace, we would have to change radically our view of reality. And now I must explain about our campaign, Global Fast for Life in Gaza. Our objective is to be on 4th July in Brussels. I will be in Brussels on 4th July with a hunger strike. I will declare in hunger strike on 2nd July in the Peace Palace of The Hague. And my idea is to put pressure on the European authorities in order that they suspend the EU-Israel Association Agreement in order to stop the selling of weapons to Israel and in order to impose sanctions to Netanyahu and his government. But for this we need your support. We need just one person making a hunger strike in Brussels is nothing, is not one, he has not power. We need your support. We need to have thousands of people behind us, backing us. For this we need you join our campaign. You fill in the form that you can find in our website. You can participate in 3 ways. First, fasting. You can make an intermittent fasting, not like me. An intermittent fasting, just 12 hours per week or 24 hours per week. There are people who is doing 48 hours per week, just fasting. If you cannot do 12 hours, make, 8 hours, no problem. But join our campaign. The second way to join our campaign is spreading the voice, dissemination. Please disseminate our videos or materials in social media. Disseminate. We need to arrive all around the world. And the third way to participate in this campaign is with a donation. I don't know how many days I will need to be in Brussels. I will arrive with 25 days in hunger strike, but it is possible that I need to go to 40, 45, 50 or 60 days in hunger strike. It's too much time in Brussels. We need money to be there and to pay the hotel, the transportation, the materials, the banners, the many things. So please make a donation. And finally, in the text of this post, you can find the address of our website to fill in the form. Thank you. And nothing more, just keep your eyes on Gaza. Keep your eyes on Gaza. Let our eyes mute their guns. Thank you for following us.